Ran red light leads to kyphoplasty. What the heck is that? Find out. Hello and welcome to this week's Client Victory here at Shane Smith Law. I'm Shane Smith, and today I'm talking to Thomas Oswalt, one of the attorneys here, about one of his recently settled cases that we would consider a client victory here. So Thomas, tell me about RS's case. What happened initially in the accident?
So RS was just minding his business, driving through an intersection when the other person involved here ran the red light and caused a T-bone collision that did over $9,500 worth of property damage to his car.
Wow. Did the police come out to the scene and establish who was at fault during the accident?
They did. They showed up and they did an accident report, and it showed that the other person was at fault for failing to yield for the red light, running through the stop sign here.
I know a lot of times when it's a red light case, the other side may kind of change their story or say that it wasn't their fault. Do you remember, was any of this here, or did the cops just pretty much locked it down right away?
Yeah, I think they locked it down pretty quick. There were some other cars that were around, and I think there were some witnesses that were able to back up what exactly had happened here. So it just didn't make sense for it to have happened any other way than their person just blowing through the light.
Well, $9,000 in property damage, I'm guessing the injuries on the scene were severe enough that they went to the emergency room.
Absolutely. They're transported by ambulance to the emergency room. There was some imaging done, and the emergency room treatment team found out that Mr. RS had fractured his L4 vertebrae and also broken at least one rib. They weren't sure if another one was broken or not. It was kind of some unclear in the imaging, but he fractured the L4 vertebrae and yeah, at least one of his ribs.
I was going to say, I know one broke rib hurts, and if the another one, it was probably just much more intense, I would figure, throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it made it even worse because he was undergoing chemotherapy at the time, so it was just a whole lot of pain for one man to go through, a lot of stress on his body.
If he's already in chemotherapy, obviously there's some other health issues going on there. Did that slow down his getting better throughout this process?
I think it did. I think when you got that much stress on your body, you're always going to be a little bit slower to heal. And he's a late 50s, early 60s, so he had some age-related things going on as well. The chemotherapy, thankfully, wasn't on his chest or back area, but still, when you got that much radiation getting pumped through your body, you're absolutely going to have stress on your immune system. So he definitely had that going on. He went through a lot of conservative care, trying to get him better, waiting for healing to happen. But ultimately, conservative care wasn't what got him better here.
And when we say conservative care, what's that mean?
Just kind of physical therapy, chiropractic care. He wasn't able to go to the chiropractor here because of the fracture in his back. He kind of just had to wait it out, but there was some physical therapy, some home care that he was able to do while this was going on. He was also getting monitored through his chemotherapy. But again, that care wasn't enough. It didn't just get better on its own here. These injuries rarely do. And ultimately, RS had to have what was called a kyphoplasty. And that's a procedure that essentially restores broken or damaged vertebrae's height. So that height gets lost when there's a fracture or there's damage to the spinal column, and relieve his pain. And that gets done when the surgeon puts in kind of a special cement into those cracks. And sometimes they'll use what's called a balloon annuloplasty, I believe it's called, to kind of inflate that area and then insert the cement.
It sounds kind of crazy, when somebody first explains it. I know the first time somebody told me the doc wanted to put cement in their back, I was like, what is this, But it sounds like he got good relief from this actual procedure. Is that right?
He did, yeah. It as I said, it was the complications with the chemotherapy, but ultimately, I think what he was able to get done here in terms of this procedure led to him, being able to get through what he was going on with the chemotherapy, to get some of that stress off of his body so that he could get healed up and be on a recovery, not only with the back injury, but with the treatment for his cancer.
And what was the long-term impact on him for these injuries? Was he able to get better totally, or is it just, long-term? What's it look like?
I think he's just going to have a lot of pain in large part because of what he was suffering with the cancer. But in terms of his description of how he's feeling after the back surgery here, it did a tremendous amount in terms of, I think he'll probably always have some residuals, just everything that was going on. But the surgery here, this procedure, I think it really helped him tremendously. And he was really happy when we were able to get this one resolved for him.
And I was going to say that leads to my next question. I was going to ask, were you able to get it resolved, and how did he feel at the end of that?
Yeah, we were. So there was $50,000 in terms of liability insurance for the person who hit him. So the adverse driver, his insurance company had $50,000, and then RS had a underinsured motorist policy for $100,000. So that means there's essentially $50,000 available to tap into from the underinsured. When you add that to the 50 from the liability, you obviously get 100,000. So that's what we were able to get this one sorted out for him.
All right, so it sounds like you got all the money that was available on both sides of the equation, from the bad guy's insurance and from our client's own insurance. Sounds like you were able to get him a surgery as well, covered inside of that, and basically a lot of pain relief, if not 100%, just a whole lot better.
Absolutely.
RS, was he happy with the results at the end of the day?
Yeah, he was really happy. He called me up afterwards. We talked a couple times, just check in on him, see how he's doing, but he's absolutely very happy with how it all got sorted out in the end. Happy with the speed of how things happened and just ultimately the results here. So definitely a big win.
Sounds like a great result for RS, at least as good a result as we could get since we got all the money and he got better. For our listeners, hit like and subscribe down below so you can see our next client victory here at Shane Smith Law. Remember, if you're in pain, call Shane. Find us online or dial 980-999-9999.
In pain, call Shane.
Oh, yeah.
980-999-9999. 980-999-9999. Shane Smith Law. In pain, call Shane.